right, so the Apple event has just happened, and I'm 99.9% sure Apple is going to probably strike the live stream I did covering the event. So instead of showing any kind of photos or whatever, I'm just gonna give you my opinion as basically an Apple nut. I'm also an Apple shareholder, and I run an actively managed ETF that has some Apple exposure in it. In this video, I'm gonna talk to you about my thoughts about, am I gonna get the latest iPhone? Keep in mind, I've gotten every single iPhone since launch. iPhone 1, iPhone 3, you name it. I use Apple iPads, Apple computers, laptops, everything. I also use PC and Android though. So, am I gonna get the latest phone? Am I going to trim the stock? Let's talk about all of that. Some of the two biggest things that came out of this event, in my opinion, for me personally, were the reiteration that the Apple Vision Pro is expected to ship early next year. That's a big deal. And a second big deal, which actually should help Apple's cloud division and their server revenues for Cloud Plus, which is one of the biggest margin areas for Apple. This is where they really grow their margin, is in the Apple Services division, Cloud Plus. They finally expanded the storage you can have. Instead of being stuck with up to 2 GBs of storage, which you can double if you end up getting sort of like the personal and the other, there are two versions you can get, and you kind of expand it and double it. You can finally go from 2 TB of storage, 2 TB, what did I write down? We're going from 2, hold on a second, obviously terabytes, but you're going from 2 to 6 to 12 TBs of storage, terabytes of storage. This is great. Finally, you can pay for more storage, which when you're recording footage at 4K or even 1080p on your iPhone, you clog that up really fast over the years. So I'm really happy to see this. I'm tired of having to go back and having to delete videos because my iCloud storage is full. So this is actually a great update. Those are two fantastic things that I'm excited about. Now, I'm also an Apple Watch Ultra owner. Now, what I'm going to tell you about this Apple Watch Ultra number 1 is my opinion on the 1, and then I'm going to tell you about the number 2, and I'll tell you if I'm going to get a new one. So, I personally use the action button on the Apple Watch Ultra as a flashlight, which I think is really great for my family. I don't love it so much, even though I'm a runner and I love wearing this for running. I don't use the action button that much for turning that on. I use it for the flashlight option. Really functional for the middle of the night, trying to find something, beats finding my phone. Really enjoy that. Is it worth having the action button just for that? Probably not. The Ultra has always been great, though, for battery life. I've had almost every single watch that Apple's come out with, and I'll tell you, almost all of these watches just die. They don't last. They suck. I've had the metal bands. I've had all the different bands they've got. The old ones suck. The Ultra actually lasts a good day and a half, which is nice. I could skip a day of charging it. Functional. This is good. So what do we have in terms of the new Series 9, and then in terms of the Ultra, what do we have? Well, a lot of hoopla about the S9 SiP. That's called a system in a package chip. 60% more transistors, 30% faster GPU, which basically just makes stuff smoother. The big announcement here on the watch, though, and this pisses me off because when I go on runs, I try to use Siri all the time, and I'm running, and I'm like, I got an $800 computer on my wrist, and Siri doesn't frickin' work. Siri not available. I'm like, what is this trash? Finally, the new watches will have Siri processed on the watch, no longer needing to connect to the cloud first. Thank God. They're also announcing about 25% more accurate Siri. I highly doubt that. Siri and I, we still have our disputes, okay? But processing it on the watch is amazing. That is good. They need to do that on all devices. I'm tired of Siri having to process in the cloud. Obviously, the sort of revolutionary announcement on the watch is this idea of double tap, but you have to ask yourself how much you actually answer phone calls on your watch, or how functional that's really going to be for you. Is it worth upgrading to the next phone, to the next watch? Personally, I don't know how much I'm going to use double tap. I do think it's innovative in that there's no camera on the watch, right? So they can't see your wrist. I saw some comments from people wondering, oh, can somebody else go like this near you and then control your watch? No, it's really measuring the movement in your wrist via the accelerometer that's in the device, and then, you know, the movement of your muscles in your wrist. So it's not like there's a camera watching your fingertips doing this. But it is a cool new smart gesture. I like the cover to silence a notification or phone, double tap maybe to sleep or pause, play music. That's functional. I like that. There are a lot of times I find myself kind of wishing I could control it with just one hand, not having to put down a cup of coffee or whatever. I do think that's functional. Is it worth upgrading though? I'll let you know at the end if it's worth it for me to upgrade to the new watch, okay? That double tap feature is on both the Series 9 and the Ultra. Now, the Ultra is also getting the S9 SIP on-device Siri, 3,000 nits of display. When I'm running in the sun, I will say sometimes I can't see the screen. Although when I'm running in the sun, you gotta ask yourself, how much do you really need to see the screen? I don't know. There are cases you want to see it, right? This is the point you gotta watch. But anyway, the biggest thing of the new Ultra 2 was that the modular device, which is actually really entertaining in my opinion. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get my watch to focus in on this, but I'll try it. But what's really entertaining, so I actually use the modular display as well. You can see it right here. I use the modular display, and one of the things that I like about the modular display is I've got so many different functions on it. So I usually have it set for the UV indicator because I do go on runs and I like to know when do I have to put sunscreen on. And a stopwatch for my kids, so I set it to like a 5-minute countdown. I'm like, that's it, you're in timeout for 5 minutes. I push a button, great, I put them in timeout. Or I'm like, hey, you know, how fast can you change? I'll time you. The kids really get excited about that. I like to see the calendar, obviously, you know, what my next event is. So the modular display is really functional for me. One of the new upgrades that they're talking about in the modular display is this idea that you could use the outside frame of the modular display to show depth. I don't care about it, I don't go diving. Altitude. I fly around, I got a plane, but I honestly don't care what altitude I'm at. That's not my job, I ain't the pilot. And then the seconds thing is like minutely interesting only because I have this thing with my son where he likes to celebrate, my 8-year-old likes to celebrate when it's exactly 12 or exactly 1, and so we'll watch the seconds together. But the modular display actually already has that in the little circular option where it shows you the little ticks for time. So frankly, that's like a software change, not that big of a change. Battery life improvements, they're like, hey, look, we're giving you all of this new performance with the same battery life as last time. So it's like, wait a minute. So I get on-device Siri and I get the tap. Is that going to be worth $800 for a new Ultra? We'll answer that at the end of the video. Okay, then iPhone 15. Okay, I lost it when they said the iPhone 15 has an all-new design. Marquez Brownlee astutely tweeted and said, the lady literally said that with a straight facepalm, essentially, right? It's ridiculous. They're bringing Dynamic Island to the iPhone 15. So far, only the Pro had that in the 14 version. Same 48 megapixel camera that was in the iPhone 14 Pro will go to the iPhone 15 standard. This ultra wideband technology, I want to be clear, what we did not hear at all on this event was anything about new 5G. They did not mention 5G once, which means it's probably the same Qualcomm 5G modem they've been using. Personally, a little pissed about that. Like for me, fast internet speed is everything. That's a big selling point for me to get a new phone. The iPhone 14, hands down, iPhone 14 on T-Mobile has by far the fastest internet I have ever seen. And you know this, if you subscribe to my channel and you see me cover breaking news stories or whatever, I run around with 2 phones and an Android. So I actually have 3 phones. The reason for that is I have one service, I have the Google Fi service on my Android. I have T-Mobile on this phone, and then I also have Mint on this one, but those are the same bands. This is the 14, and then I have Verizon and AT&T on this. In case you don't know, on the iPhone, this is the iPhone 13. Even on the iPhone 13, you can get 2 eSIMs, so you can have 2 different services, and you can actually change the services between the 2. I don't have the best service in my office here, but look at that top. You see those 2 bands right there? Verizon and AT&T? I can actually switch between the 2. This is the iPhone 13. I don't need a new phone to do that. And I have the same thing over here. you'll see if I pull down, I mean, I don't know that it's necessary for me to really go through it, but I will anyway because some people find it very interesting. So yeah, my Mint's on Wi-Fi calling right now. But if this ends up focusing right here, there it is. You can see T-Mobile. The next one's actually Mint. That's actually very useful for me because on the go, I could go, AT&T sucks here. I switch to the other eSIM, and it makes it really useful for me to have fast internet. The iPhone 14, very fast 5G service, way better than the 13. Now, no updates though in the 15 on 5G. Unless I missed it, 0 updates on the 5G. Now, they do talk about the ultra-wideband. Now, ultra-wideband is not to be confused with the ultra bands that they have for 5G. They're talking about the new ultra-wideband technology for Find My iPhone. Okay, this is not that revolutionary in that, I mean, they're suggesting, okay, maybe you could do it from 3 times further away, and you can navigate to find my friends a little bit better. But frankly, I have the iPhone Watch Ultra right here, and all the time I go in here and I do the ping to find my phone. That's functional. Do I really need to like get even more accurate with where my phone is and upgrade to the latest watch and the latest phone to get even more precision? That's pretty good already, the Find My already, right? So something to keep in mind. Again, I'm gonna tell you, am I gonna upgrade to these devices and what I think about the stock in just a moment. Going through the rest of this. You know, initially I thought it was impressive that they were including the satellite service for free for 2 years, but that's actually also true on the iPhone 14. So I'm sorry when I said that in the live stream, I was wrong about that, but I've corrected that. It's actually not impressive because it's the same thing as they've done previously. Now, the USB-C cable. This is obviously forced by the European Union, which the Apple will obviously turn this into, hey, we're doing USB-C so we can give you external storage capabilities so you can film with your iPhone and store to an external, fast solid state drive. That's cool because then I could film and if I'm on a tripod and hand it to an editor. I'll tell you if I actually think I'm going to end up using that. So I'm gonna write a little note here and tell you USB-C storage. I'll give you my answer on that. It is cool though when you get that gigabit, that 10 gigabits worth of transfer speed. Now I will tell you, if I film on the iPhone and I do not let it just store in iCloud and then it takes me like a week or whatever to go to it when I have to re-download the files. If I film something and then if I same day airdrop that content, 1080p, 4K, whatever, to an editor or somebody else on my team, airdrop is fast when it works. There are times it's frustrating and it's not connecting, you gotta reboot stuff, whatever, that's the way it is. And so there will be some benefit to these faster transfer speeds via USB-C capability, and it's nice to have a universal charger via USB-C. You know, I'm a big iPad junkie, y'all know that. I'm a big fan of the iPad. The iPad Pros are the best. I know this is not a Pro right here. This is my medium-sized iPad. I've got the iPad Tiny. Honestly, every single iPad I have, I do really enjoy. I'm an iPad nut. I think they're incredible for reading, for studying. That's probably the most note-taking, obviously, for presenting things that's useful. But in terms of reading PDFs and annotating them, godly. And I do that all day long, right? Okay, so, but there was no iPhone news, or no iPad news in this. But anyway, it's nice to have the same charging port, but I'll tell you where that's a pisser. I have gone through and made my life really, really simple, where everywhere I sit down or I have a charging environment, I already have an iPhone Lightning cable set up. And so since I use 2 phones, I have the 13 and the 14, it doesn't make sense for me to potentially leave that Lightning environment unless I want to go through and change out all of those that I have for my second phone to USB-C, right? So there is some extra cost of if you upgrade to the iPhone 15, making sure that you're replacing where your Lightning chargers are to USB-Cs. I know that might sound like nitpicking, but think about it. If you have 5 different spots that you usually have a Lightning charger, that could be your office, it could be your car, it could be in your bedroom, it could be in your home office, your work office, whatever it is, right? You probably do, or you should, unless your phone's always dead, right? Then you need some more chargers anyway. But 5 different spots, you're gonna have to get another 5-pack of USB-C cables. They're gonna have to have the right wattage for you to actually get the real benefits of fast charging out of these, you're probably going to spend somewhere around $7 at least per cable on these. You know, it's going to be another $35. You got to get the power bricks. You're probably going to be at $100 in cables. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's another thing to adopt or spend money on, especially if you get the official Apple cables. Well, then you're probably going to get ripped off, but whatever. Again, you got to get the faster USB-C cables. I actually have one over here. I'll tell you this. I have, you know, a lot of people don't know about this, but I have this, for example, this Elgato Stream Deck right here. You know, it's just a little stream switcher that you use for like TikTok streaming or whatever, right? You plug it in. If you plug this in with a regular USB-C cable, it actually won't function. You need to have a USB-C cable that supports the wattage that you need for fast charging. And so when and if you go look at USB-C cables, make sure you're evaluating what wattage you actually need to go through the cable, because not all USB-C cables are created equal, and they won't actually give you the proper data and power flow that you might expect from C. So there's a lot to learn when it comes to C, and there's going to be some adoption curve and money spending for USB-C, something to keep in mind. Now, as far as the iPhone 15 Pro, thinner bezel, titanium frame, toughest glass, bro, listen, I've been an iPhone dude since the iPhone 1, and every single year, they tell me the glass is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And almost every single year, this is what happens to my glass, okay? Almost every single year. I'm sick and tired of, it's stronger glass, and then it's a rip. I will say, I do like, shout out to Pelican, hashtag not sponsored. What is sponsored on my channel is me pitching that I have a coupon expiration for the programs of Building Your Wealth this Friday. Email us at staff@meetkevin.com if you want any bundles, lifetime access to live streams, price increase, more value coming to courses, discounts for home building, my startup, my real estate startup, blah, blah, blah. Okay, these Pelican MagSafe wallets, they're actually very good. I have to say, shout out to the MagSafe wallets. I have 2 of them. This is what it looks like on the iPhone 14. This is the just sort of one that I have on my 13. But this is just a regular MagSafe little wallet here. Let's get it to focus, get my face out of there. This Pelican wallet, I really, really enjoy this kind of Pelican wallet right here. I'll go ahead and open it up for you. Basically, what it has is it's a little storage. There we go. I'm trying to do this live. It has 2 spots. It's got obviously a spot where you could slide in the credit cards, and then you could slide some money under here. What I actually do in my second one is I actually keep a security key in this one. So if you have a purpose for this at work or something like that, a little security key. And then I also keep an Apple AirTag, which I've labeled, custom labeled 1337 in there. So I keep that sort of in here. So I have a security key spot, and then one for credit cards, driver's license, and, you know, money, cash, some cash, $2 bills, whatever you want to keep. So I do find those Pelican hard cases somewhat useful. Probably one of my favorite MagSafe accessory, rather. Okay, that gives you a heads up on this. Now, the other thing to keep in mind on the announcement, iPhone 15 Pro, same sizes. A lot of talk, obviously, about recycled materials, carbon neutral. I'm going to skip that. That was talked about a lot. That they still have their goal of, you know, 0 carbon footprint by 2030, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the one thing that I do like about the 15 is the customizable action button. So right now on the iPhone, you have the little switch right here to go from, you know, ring to not ring. It just turns the ringer on and off, which is annoying because if you are already on Do Not Disturb, then that ringer button doesn't matter. Now, if I turn off Do Not Disturb, but it's on silent, then you forget, oh, I'm not gonna get phone calls or I'm not gonna hear phone calls. So customizing that action button, much like the customizability of the action button of the Ultra watch, is actually very functional in my opinion. You being able to customize it to flashlight, which is what I use on my Ultra, voice memo, brilliant. Quickly hitting one button and going to voice memo, brilliant move right there. Launching the camera. You already kind of have the launch camera button right here. It's not that hard to launch the camera from here, so I don't know how useful that is. I'd probably go either voice memo or flashlight. Since I have flashlight on my Ultra, honestly, I'd probably go voice memo. Like, oh, hey, would you mind if I record this really quick? Boom, click, done, right? Useful. or you have it changed from your do not disturb settings. Maybe that's where I would lean. I guess it would depend if I'm traveling or what my needs are at the time, or launching a shortcut or accessibility. That I do like. The iPhone 15 Pro will have the A17 Pro, 3nm chip. ASML and Intel are going to be happy about these things, TSMC as well. ASML is the company that manufactures the lithography machines that bring you down to 3nm. Intel is getting the first 3nm manufacturing capability in America, and TSMC, which produces a lot of the Apple products, has this as well. Machine learning is expected to be twice as fast. USB 3.0 transfer speeds, fine. We talked about that. We talked about AirDrop. Honestly, the biggest pitch they gave was they're like, oh, it's 4 times as fast for ray tracing, which is for like video games. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not actually that great of an upgrade. Probably the bigger upgrades came from the camera, which are going to be at the same 48 megapixel camera, 24mm lens. However, it wasn't clear if they're just going for a digital zoom here or if this is going to be an optical zoom, but they're letting you go from the 24mm zoom on the 48 megapixel lens to 28 and 35 as a focal length, which is nice for portraits or really just photography in general. I believe because this is 48 megapixel, it's probably just going to be digital. So this is really a software upgrade to get those extra 11 millimeters, which quite frankly, if you're shooting at 48 megapixels, you could just crop yourself. So I don't actually think that was that big of a revolution. What was a physical revolution was that the iPhone 15 Pro Max will let you go from 3x optical zoom to 5x optical zoom, getting you out to 120 millimeters on the max. That's a big difference for distance shooters, but you have to ask yourself, is that a big difference for everyday users? So now, what's my take on this? Oh, and then of course we're getting 4K 60 up from 30, according to the external, the iCloud Plus update. Okay, we talked about that. Find My via satellite, that's kind of cool. Okay, good. And then we got the carbon footprint updates, blah, 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 blah. So, the iPhone, this is a big one, okay? Am I going to get the new iPhone, the new watch? My bottom line thoughts on whom this is all functional for, okay? First, I want to be crystal clear. Yes, I have had every single freaking iPhone since launch. I've never skipped an iPhone launch in my career. I walk around with 2 iPhones in my pockets. I got an Android as well, but these are my daily runners. The AirDrop, NFC connections, the functionality between the iPhones and the iPads and the different laptops is fantastic. Okay, hands down, these are fantastic products. Now, before I say, if I'm going to get this iPhone 15, you got to ask yourself, for whom is the iPhone 15 very useful? Well, probably for somebody who's on an older model, who's been waiting to upgrade, right? Fantastic. If you're on an older model, you're waiting to upgrade to the latest and greatest, maybe now's that refresh cycle time for you individually. Is there a niche group of photographer who is going to want more stabilized telephoto photography? Yes. Is that going to be 99% of the iPhone user base? Absolutely not. Is 99% of the iPhone user base going to care that your 24mm lens can go to 28 or 35? No. So there is a niche audience here. In studio, do I really think professional photographers are going to put the iPhone on an in-studio tripod? No. Do I think that some YouTubers who want to use the iPhone in studio and connect to an SSD to hand to an editor are going to be interested in the iPhone 15 for USB-C connectivity? Yes. Is that really functional for me? No, because I just have Canon cameras set up in my studio already, and quite frankly, I'm not going to use an iPhone at this point in my studio, though if I were a newer YouTuber, sure, I'd use an iPhone in a studio, and it's kind of useful, although I could just AirDrop the footage, right? If you're local enough to use a solid-state drive, then you're local enough to AirDrop. So I don't know if that's convincing enough. Very, very niche upgrade on the cameras. The actual 5G service appears to be exactly the same. We didn't even hear battery improvements, okay? The physical changes in terms of the titanium frame, don't care. The inside being more repairable, don't care. Like, frankly, the upgrades here, it's tough. What you're really doing for 99% of people, what you're saying is, if I have the iPhone 14, I'm going to get the iPhone 15 because either I'm a techie and I want the latest and greatest, or I really want that switch button that's going to let me quickly switch to shortcuts, okay? So if you want to spend $1,000 again for an iPhone, because now you got to go Pro, right? You got to go to the iPhone 14 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro to be able to get the switchy button here, which is going to start at, let's see, the max is going to start at $11.99. So if you're going to get the large one, you're at $11.99. And the iPhone 15 Pro is going to be $9.99. Sure, maybe you can get some trade-in value on your 14, but realistically, is it worth $1,000 for the little switchy button that is now a shortcut button and USB-C? My answer to that, no. I'm not going to upgrade to the iPhone 15. I feel horrible saying that as an Apple shareholder. It's in my ETF. I can't do it. I have to replace my docks. The benefits for me aren't worth it. I can upgrade to the iCloud storage, larger storage settings with software. Like I click a button. Do I really care about that quicker do not disturb setting? Not really. Now, the nice thing is that do not disturb setting does update to all of your devices, right? So if you could do it physically with a button, it changes everything. But what I really care about is a physical switch anyway. So I try to just leave the physical switch on loud, and then I just have my do not disturb setting the way I want. And frankly, changing the do not disturb setting from your watch isn't that hard. Now, I'm not wearing my watch, so it might take a little extra second here. But generally what I do is I just swipe up from the bottom, and then I hit the little sleepy mode, and then it says, do you want to go to do not disturb, personal work? I change it to work, on for an hour, on until this evening, or on until I leave, and it's done. Automatically updates on all my devices anyway. My iPads, my iPhones, and all of that. So because that do not disturb setting I can control from my watch anyway, and it updates on all of my devices, really means I don't necessarily need this physical switch, and I just leave it on loud all of the time. That's what I've done for the last year. So for me, I hate to say it, I can't see going to the 15 as an upgrade from the 14. Now, if this was my first time getting into the iPhone, would I save money and go for the 14? It depends. In my situation, if I didn't have an iPhone and I was gonna go for an iPhone, I would buy the 15 just because if I was gonna go from not having it to having the latest, I'll have the latest, right? I'll pay the extra, $300-400 and just to have the latest. If I was tighter on money, or I wanted to invest that money into stocks instead, which is the more prudent, financially responsible thing to do, would I go for the iPhone 14 and save $300-400 instead of going for the iPhone 15? Absolutely. Same battery, at least based on what we were presented. Same battery, same 5G. You get the always-on display. You get the, what's it called? I forgot the little fancy dynamic display set up over here at the top where the phone call comes in or the directions. Most of these things are software updates anyway. The camera for 99% of people is basically the same. They didn't even really talk about better video in this one. Yes, maybe the A17 is going to be a little bit of a better chip for some of this graphic processing. Again, though, for 99% of people, is the 15 worth the upgrade from the 14? Again, as an Apple investor, as somebody who's gotten every single new Apple phone, the answer to me is a hard no. And ordinarily, Lauren and I are the first people, we'll wake up early to go pre-order the new phone. This is not it. It just wasn't encouraging enough. And in this kind of consumer environment, I don't see other people going for it either. Okay, now, what about the watch? Is the watch worth upgrading to? And then we got to talk about the stock. Okay, is the watch worth upgrading to? What are we getting with the new watch if you already have the Ultra? Look, if I didn't have the Series 8 and I didn't have the Ultra and I've been waiting to get the watch, would I get the Ultra 2 or the Series 9? Probably, yeah. I think these are great devices. They are the best watch to exist. The iPhone 14 is the best phone to exist. And I have some of the best Android devices as well, so I compare. Ecosystem-wise, I know I'm going to piss off some Android folks on that. I'm sorry. It's just better. And the watch is just better at Apple. It is very, very good. And I highly recommend the product. But again, If you already have the Watch 1, what are you getting? The Ultra Watch 1. What are you getting from going from the Ultra Watch 1 to the Ultra Watch 2? Well, you're not getting any new buttons. You're getting the fact that the frame on the outside is now functional for display, although that might come to you through software updates anyway. You're not getting a better battery. You're not getting better 5G service. You're getting on-board processing of Siri. And that's roughly it beyond then the little tap feature. Those are the two big things that you're getting. So for me, is onboard Siri processing and the tap feature worth it? Well, I'll say, if it was just the tap feature, the answer would be no. I don't really care that much to control with the tap, and quite frankly, because they showed that the tap feature is going to kind of bring up like all the different apps you could cycle between, I kind of suspect that it's going to be one of those things where like, oh, I'm gonna tap to silence a song, and then it's actually just gonna do a different function, like pull up your shelf instead. I'm like, there's gonna be a little frustration and learning curve around using that without a doubt. It's not enough for me to get a new watch. No battery life improvements, whatever. And the battery life on the Ultra 1 is already great. Now, as far as onboard Siri processing, is that worth $800? Well, I'll tell you this. The times I'm frustrated by Siri not being able to process is when I'm on a run in one specific part of my run where there's no service. Would I love in that part to have onboard Siri processing to be able to write a memo down? Absolutely. Is it worth $800? No. So once again, can I justify going from the Ultra 1 to the Ultra 2? The answer to that is no. So, unfortunately, for the first time in a very long time, this refresh cycle for me is one I'm probably sitting out. Now, I am very excited about the Pro Vision still coming early next year. I told myself, I don't know, I can't see myself buying it, but I probably will. I probably will buy the Pro Vision just because I gotta try it. I gotta try it, okay? These upgrades I can visualize. I can see how they're going to apply to my life. I can tell you it's not worth the money. As far as a newer iPad, would I go for a bigger iPad? Hell yeah. Would I go for a new iPad? Probably. Didn't hear anything about that at this event. Am I gonna upgrade my iCloud storage? Absolutely. Am I a little frustrated that Apple didn't bring us more? Yeah, probably. I mean, Apple's down 2.2%, so it kind of expected. But then again, other parts of the market are down as well. The Nasdaq's down 1%, Tesla's down 2%. So you can't really say this was highly unexpected and that Apple's getting punished for this stock-wise. Is it worth trimming Apple? Okay, that's the last question. So I actually did reduce my Apple exposure about a month-ish ago, and I increased my allocation to other stocks that I thought had a bigger upside. I do still have Apple exposure. Is this event going to change my opinion on Apple stock? Not really. Do I really think the stock market is pricing in that Apple's revenues are about to take off on all these new product announcements? No. As a result, I don't really think there's a big need to like panic sell Apple or, oh my gosh, change all the allocations in Apple. This was heavily expected that this wasn't going to be that incredible of an event or a discovery of new products or whatever. It's unfortunate because we'd like to see some new innovation. We did get some new things here, but a lot of the new things that I care about, honestly, like hearing about when that Vision Pro is coming, early next year, great news. The iCloud storage upgrades to 6 TBs and 12 TB, fantastic. We needed this. Are the upgrades worth it to go from 14 to 15 without a battery life improvement or 5G improvement or serious camera improvements for normal users? No. Are the watch improvements worth it for no change in battery life on the Ultra or really any other function other than the tap or onboard Siri improvement? No. Are those worth it? No. So that's my take. Thank you so much for watching my recap. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks. Goodbye.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.